Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Brew live on Brew Sports. We welcome you inside the studio on a Wednesday edition of the show. It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to talk about sports. It's an even better day when Jaymee Evers is at the same table as you are. Good morning, Jaymee. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you ever have friends fight over you in high school or college? Be like, sit at our table, Jaymee. Sit at our table.
No, I don't really think I sat at the at a lunch table in high school.
Did you sit
My
on the
parents
floor?
live pretty close, so.
Oh, you just go home?
Yeah.
I never understood that. I feel like that was more of like a Wisconsin thing. Like, 'cause in Florida, like, you had to stay at high school.
Really?
You had to. Couldn't leave. Couldn't go get to like dinner or lunch at McDonald's. You had to be at school.
Yeah. No, my dad lived like 4 or 5 blocks away, so I just run home, make a Sammy.
What up, Sammy? I mean, Sheboygan, I guess everybody's, 2 minutes from each other, I guess, basically.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
go from one end of Sheboygan to the other in about 5 minutes and still have plenty of time to get back for the fourth bell.
That's true.
You're like, all right, I'm back. Like, okay, thanks for going. Appreciate it. We missed you. It's been 5 minutes. How was the city? Oh, good, perfect. That's one thing people love, I feel like, about small towns at times. I mean, Sheboygan's not super small, though.
No, there's probably 45,000 people.
Oh, well, that's bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was
2
smaller.
major high schools, 2 major private high schools.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're going somewhere if you've got 4 high schools.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's maybe a way to
There's
judge.
also like a technology high school and like a high school for the bad kids, and then so we got a lot.
You have 6 high schools?
I guess.
Technology for school. And
Like a charter.
Oh, how's that for the bad kids? You go to
No,
the charter
and then
school. It's
those
like
two
the
separate ones,
uppity
two separate
ups.
ones.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Good Lord, you're just flocked with people there. Holy cow.
We're so diverse.
A booming metropolis of Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Oh, my goodness. Well, we've got a good show in store for you all today. For those of you who are like, why are we talking about Sheboygan, Wisconsin? I don't know. We are, okay? When you have Jaymee, you just have to talk about Sheboygan, and somehow it ultimately takes over the conversation at some point. But a lot of good stuff to get to today. A very major thing we're going to talk about later on in the show has to deal with U.S. Women's hockey. It's also a very monumental day for them. Jaymee, you talked about it earlier in the week, so we're going to get to that a little bit later. We're going to be joined in the second segment by one of the co-hosts of Double Dribble, Mitch Vomhof, to help us walk through the NBA playoff picture. The NBA MVP race. Is it Russell Westbrook? Is it James Harden? Is there a dark horse? And, of course, an interesting thing making its way around the NBA as well, too, about a potential female head coach as well, coming sooner maybe rather than later. We'll get Mitch's thoughts about that as well, too. If you have any thoughts about anything we talk about on the show, make sure to comment below. Hit that share button as well, too, as we roll along with the program. Love to hear your thoughts about anything we talk about. And if you have questions as well, too, in general about anything we talk about or anything else off of left field, this is the show to do it, honestly. Jaymee and I live on the left field fence, so we'd love to be able to answer any questions or even strike up conversations about other things that literally have nothing to do with what we're talking about. So you have our permission to try to derail us if you'd like to. First things first, of course, it is the what's brewing right off the bat. I just need to play this video right off the bat, Jaymee, because I've seen some pretty awesome stuff in my life. I've been very fortunate to be involved in a lot of different sports things and just, in general, there's some really cool stuff out there. But I have never once seen somebody do what this lady has done, and we're gonna show the video while we talk about it. But if you've ever gone bowling, I mean, I'm sure you've gone bowling before. Sheboygan, I'm sure that you've probably got about 12 different bowling alleys in Sheboygan, probably like 2.
2, I think, and they're like on the same block, basically.
It's true, like rival bowling
Yeah.
alleys. But if you look at this video right now, this gal, I don't know where she's based out of, but obviously a professional golfer. She decided that bowling strikes was too mainstream, so she decided to take a golf ball and a driver and hit strikes down the alley. Just bang, like, look at that. I don't understand how. And she just, like, walks away like, yeah, like, that's my day. That's my life.
I don't understand.
Come at me.
I don't understand either because the bowling pin isn't that light and the golf ball's very small.
I've tried to lift bowling pins before. There's a lot that that goes into it. I mean, not like it's super heavy, but like they're awkward and stuff.
And they're
a golf
definitely
ball is
like base heavy.
tiny.
Bottom heavy. And her outfit's super cute.
I was going to say, she looked adorable, though.
Yeah.
I mean, very, hashtag classic Asian, but like at the same time, like, it was.
And who thinks of that? Like,
Yeah.
I love golf so much, and everybody wants to go bowling, so take me to a bowling alley and let me
Smack
shoot
some balls around, I guess.
Yeah. I just
Did you
call them
say,
pucks.
say shoot the puck? Like, Jamie's so excited to talk about hockey later. She's like, pucks, hockey, check people. Be like, no, we're just talking about bowling right now. But I've never seen anything crazy like that. The guys over at Dude Perfect do some pretty crazy stuff, honestly. And I was surprised maybe that they might try to do something like this as well, too, for those of you that are familiar with the Dude Perfect videos. A couple of good mornings here from people right out the bat. Bruce says, good morning from our nation's capital. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do we feel like we have to stand and salute him or, like, put our hand over our heart if you're in the nation's capital? I don't know. Anyway, And I never really know, honestly. Liz says good morning. Good morning to you, Liz. Jackie says hi, Jaymee.
Good morning.
What up? Robert says that is badass. No kidding. Like, seriously, like I can barely bowl the ball straight down the lane anyway, let alone trying to then take a golf club, which is already difficult enough to then make contact with and drive it in the exact spot that it just goes.
Yeah, I can't putt golf. I can't shoot or golf on a driving range. I'm extremely ungifted when it comes to
you have talents
the
in other
game of
areas,
golf.
Jack. You other things you're good at, Jaymee. Like you don't. It's okay that you're not good at golf and bowling at the same time.
My dad's a pretty good Kenny.
Kenny.
He's
See,
a pretty good bowler.
classic Kenny.
It's a Sheboygan thing.
There's a Sheboygan thing.
Him
You
and
go
both
bowling, and say, is he in the bowling league and is he in the golf?
Both of my brothers, I think, are in a bowling league together.
I never got
That's
into
cute.
that. I love going bowling.
Yeah.
I really do. It's one of my favorite things to go do with like friends, and ultimately like one of the most stereotypical things to do like as a high school kid. Like, we're gonna go bowling.
Glow bowling.
Glow bowling. Like the pumping music. You're
Yeah.
like, going bowling. But like never got into the leagues. People are like, oh my gosh, like people like carve out like months of their life to like go to these like world championships of bowling.
Yeah.
Like even watching bowling on TV. It's very difficult to watch bowling on TV. I'd like to say that golf is more entertaining than bowling because literally these guys are professionals and they throw the ball the exact same way and it hits the exact same
Strike
pins.
every time.
And everybody is just dumbfounded if they hit less than 8 pins.
We have a guy, a season ticket holder, who is missing games, which is obviously fine, but because he's going to Vegas for like the national bowling, I think it's a very like more of a small town thing, you know? 'Cause
It has to be.
There's people in the community that get together, and like we had like teachers that did it, and you know, like it's just something for people in Sheboygan to do on a Thursday or Tuesday night.
It
and
is
the
like,
beer's pretty cheap, so
it's like
everyone
Tuesday
goes.
night special for bowlers. Like, come on down. Like,
$5 pitchers.
$5 pitcher, yeah, and like
Yeah.
of Miller Lite and Bud Light. I'm just
Yep.
like, no, thank you. I will go bring my own craft brew and stick it in a water bottle
And
and
by
be a
craft
rebel.
brew, guys, he means a cider. So.
Yes, get over it, okay? I can be bought for a cider or 6. Jamie's more classy than I am, I guess. Never thought I'd say those words. Anyway, what else is brewing this morning, Jaymee?
We could go back to everyone knows I hate LeVar Ball. Everyone knows I hate Conor McGregor. I hate him.
Synonymous with each other, really. If you had to go on a date with one of those two, who would you go on a date with?
Oh, Conor McGregor, duh. I don't even know why I hesitated. That
I was like,
embarrassing.
Wow.
I didn't think about
okay.
who we were talking about. No, Conor McGregor for sure. He'd come up to my belly button, but it's cool.
Oh, hello, little Connor. Good to see you.
So as we all know, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather are planning a fight in the very, very near future. And Mr. Cocky Pants
It was like easy.
is excited to try to fight Nate Diaz again for the 3rd time. So he says, he tweeted out yesterday, I believe, "This is an amazing video of a great chapter in my career. I look forward to the trilogy fight down the road. It was hell of a fight. Enjoy."
Hell of a fight.
Hell of a.
Hella. It was a hella
Hella.
fight. Hella
Hell
fight.
of a fight.
Hell of a fight. You didn't say it with the right accent, though, so.
I'm not a good accent person.
I didn't say you were. You should.
Hell of a fight.
We have a hell of a fight there. Oh, me and Nate Diaz. Maybe they should go bowling. Maybe that's how they should decide it.
You think
instead.
so?
I think it would be awesome to take athletes that are outside of their sport and make them compete in it. I would watch a reality show like that, like Conor McGregor and Tiger Woods playing badminton. Like that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing for me.
I don't know if I'd watch that.
I mean, that's a very, two very different people. But or Conor McGregor versus whoever, Charles Barkley swimming. Like in a swimming, like something outside of what they're doing that literally requires no skill of what they've been trained their entire life. Welcome back to the Morning Brew. Apologies about that. I have no idea what the heck just happened, but all of a sudden I got a flag from behind the camera saying, like, we're not on anymore. I'm like, oh, really? So somebody somewhere probably stepped on a cord or did something they weren't supposed to do or turned a switch that they're supposed to not switch, and sure enough, shut us all down. So we're back. Sorry about that. Didn't realize that we just realized that 10 minutes in was about as long as the show as we needed to do today, and figured let's just cut it there. We're good to go. But apologies about that. But we were wrapping up our conversation with whatever the heck we were talking about anyway, so I'm sure it wasn't important. We were talking about athletes competing outside of their comfort zone, basically. So whether or not that actually happens, you never know. It'd be a unique idea, I feel like. But I don't know. You apparently don't seem to be as excited about it as I am.
Yeah. I think it could be like a small, like it's not something that would be like a...
I'm not saying it has to be like a grandiose sort of thing.
Okay, so a small, non-grandiose bit I would watch.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, speaking of grandiose things, the NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and a gentleman that knows far too much about the NBA but will never care to admit that he has an NBA problem is Mitch Vomhof. Mitch Vomhof is one of the co-hosts of the Double Dribble show here on the wonderful network that is Brew Sports on Friday evenings, and he joins us now on the Morning Brew. A very good morning to you, Mitch. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you two today?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Oh.
It's been one of those days already, Mitch. As I don't know if you paid attention or not, but somebody stepped on a cord and we were gone for a hot second. But now we're back, and now we can talk about things. So
Yeah, no, that's okay. My my legend of technical difficulties grows, so that's fine.
I was gonna say, I was like, we got a memo this morning. Like, look, guys, if you're gonna have Mitch on, something's probably gonna go wrong. So proceed with caution, basically.
Check everything twice, just in case.
This is why we can't have nice things, Mitch. But
it's all my fault. It's fine.
It's okay. I gladly put the blame on you for this one, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I usually get the blame, so you can have this one.
Oh,
there you go.
All right. That's me.
Jaymee passing it along.
That's what you get for getting me up at 7 in the morning.
That's true. That's what we feel like for getting up in that time as
boy.
well, too. Oh, my goodness. Well, the NBA playoff race, Mitch, is heating up. Fans certainly are excited. A couple of teams have already punched their tickets. 5 in the West and 4 in the East have already punched their tickets. But I don't necessarily know if we need to hone in on those teams that have already punched their tickets. But I guess maybe we can briefly before we get to the teams that are still trying to lock up a spot. But I think maybe the biggest surprise for me has been the fact that Boston is now sitting in first place in the Eastern Conference. Of course, I know they've only got a half game on the Cavaliers. But does Boston have what it takes to officially lock up that seed with just a couple games left to go?
I think really a stretch of great play by Boston has kind of been matched by a little bit of a free fall by Cleveland lately. Cleveland's defense has been a mess for most of this month, and obviously it's really hurting them. It's totally not out of the realm of possibility that Boston hangs on for the rest of the season and locks up that 1 seed. They're obviously one of the great teams in the league, and they're probably one of the best contenders for Cleveland if they do. If there is someone who's going to dethrone the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference.
When you look at the Eastern Conference as a whole, Mitch, I feel like it really has been just the Cleveland Cavaliers conference to lose the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Is it actually? I feel like I'm in maybe the minority, but maybe not. That I'm actually glad that it's somebody else that's on top of the league and or in top of the Eastern Conference, and it's good to see teams outside of just LeBron James and the Cavaliers actually doing good things in the Eastern Conference. Is the Celtics and the Raptors and the Wizards and all these other guys actually? From your perspective, are they doing the right thing, I guess, by helping continue to expand the NBA instead of it just being, it's going to be Cleveland in the East?
It obviously helps the legitimacy of the conference, especially when a lot of the conversation in the last couple of years was around how strong the Western Conference is as opposed to, the East, where any LeBron-led team kind of just kicked their way through and got to the finals. So this year's probably if you're talking about the top 4 teams in the conference, I'd say this is probably the strongest top 4 we've had in quite a while. But actually, the interesting thing is that somebody passed along a statistic last night that of the 6 consecutive finals that a LeBron-led team has been to, so Cleveland for the last couple of years and then obviously Miami before that, they've only had the number 1 seed in the East twice out of those 6 times. Now, the other 4 times they were second, so they weren't exactly very far down in the playoff seedings, but these LeBron teams have shown that they don't have to be the number 1 seed to bowl their way through to the finals anyways. But that said, this might be the strongest year for challengers for them. Toronto matches up fairly well with them. Washington has been an offensive juggernaut lately that matches really well against a bad defense like the Cavaliers have this year.
Is there anybody this season that has impressed you or has impressed you with this playoff push coming up?
Honestly, I'm always hesitant to believe in the Milwaukee Bucks because they have an impressive history of disappointing their fans. But to come from being on the bubble of the playoffs, in that 8th, 9th, 10th spot, to play really great basketball ever since Jabari Parker went down, to be pretty firmly seated in the sixth, almost in that 5, 6, 7 spot, but pretty firmly seated in the playoffs, and maybe going to steal the 5 spot from the Atlanta Hawks. I think they've definitely overperformed towards the end of the season and are kind of peaking at the right time. In the Western Conference, I've been really interested in what the Denver Nuggets are doing. Obviously, they're still on the outside looking in at this point, but they have Nikola Jokic, who's most improved player candidate, maybe going to be one of the great offensive passing centers of our time if he keeps developing. And they are definitely riding him and some of their young players into contending for an 8th spot in the West, which really bodes well for them going forward. If not this season, in the next couple of seasons, they're setting up to be a really interesting team out West.
Of course, when you talk about the West, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Golden State, of course. They get a nice victory last night against the hard-charging Houston Rockets. Is Golden State, even if Kevin Durant isn't at 100% and Steph Curry, is still doing Steph Curry things, are they still a shoo-in to be the Western Conference representative?
It's sure looking that way. I mean, they obviously had struggles after Durant went down. Part of that you can attribute to just losing a massive part of your team like that. Obviously, Durant was leading the team in a lot of important metrics. But they've come back. They've won 8 in a row and 8 of their last 10. And unless they falter a little bit again, but they seem to be much more comfortable with Steph Curry taking over that primary offensive load again. And unless something really bad happens to them or the San Antonio Spurs just completely sweep the rest of the season, Golden State is probably your number 1 seed.
When you look at the NBA from a lot of different perspectives, I think so many people, for so many years it was the Jazz being the dominant team, it was, the Bulls being the dominant team, and now we're starting to see the Spurs, of course, have been that dynasty for a long time as well, too. Mm-hmm. Can you actually place the dynasty label on what Cleveland is doing or what Golden State is doing right now? Am I foolish to think that it's a little too early to make a statement like a dynasty for one of those two clubs?
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, Baxter, in that it's a little bit early. I mean, Golden State obviously they've already gone down in history as having one of the best seasons ever. And they're if everything holds true, they're on their way to yet another finals, and they're getting to the point where you could probably say, well, this Golden State Warriors team is special enough that if not a dynasty, they're going to be remembered as one of those significant teams in history. So from that perspective, I say Golden State is very close to getting to that. Maybe if they end up on a streak of, 5 or 6, not necessarily straight finals, but 5 or 6 like serious contending seasons, and it maybe get 3 or 4 championships out of there. That kind of, it's a high bar certainly, but that kind of seems where you could put the dynasty label on them. As far as Cleveland, I think they are even further back in that process because obviously they only have contended since LeBron came back, basically. If LeBron James is a dynasty at this point, but maybe not the Cavaliers.
That's a fair statement, I feel like.
Switching gears a little bit here, yesterday we heard the NBA commissioner Adam Silver talking about they're potentially becoming a women's head coach sooner than later. He talked about the San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, and the LA Clippers having women in their organizations to be the ones to kind of break the glass ceiling or reach the glass ceiling, as they say. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Silver has really tried to position himself as the super progressive commissioner of the league, especially after David Stern was kind of maybe not looked on so favorably. Silver is certainly trying to position himself that way. And this whole conversation that he had was a part of the leanin.org partnership that the league is doing to promote equality awareness and stuff like that. I think he's totally right. I mean, Becky Hammon in San Antonio and Nancy Lieberman out in Sacramento have both been very highly regarded, both as coaches previously and in their current roles. Becky Hammon actually just turned down a job at Florida to coach their women's basketball team, presumably so that she could stay in the NBA and at some point contend for a head coaching role there. So I definitely agree with him, in conjunction with the league's efforts to promote more female and internationally based referees. It's just kind of the next step. And you'll get hot takes from certain radio personalities in New York, let's say, to the contrary. But the tide is such that that's more of an inevitability at this point than it is like a curiosity.
And that's the thing too. When you really look at what the NBA is trying to do, and they've really tried to build that community image where it's like anybody's welcome, everybody can come in and support the league. And I feel like the women's demographic has always been difficult to support the NBA, but if you actually have female head coaches or women of high power in the NBA, I feel like that has to at least open the conversation for more female viewers and supporters to come in and check it out, so they can be like, oh, check out the hashtag women power kind of thing. We've got we're taking over the NBA one team at a time. Is that the wrong image though? Is that the wrong narrative? I mean, shouldn't people just be excited the fact that it's just a female head coach, or should it even matter that she's a female and that just team's got a new head coach? Good for them.
I mean, there's a whole conversation to be had around equality and gender image and stuff like that. I think it's notable. It's going to be notable when we have a female head coach, just because it'll be the first time in history. So it's certainly something to call attention to, and in the sense that the NBA is focusing on these diversity issues and these diversity initiatives, it's certainly something to be noted, and it will help. I think it will definitely help expand the viewer base, get interests from more than just kind of your quote unquote standard sports demographic. And that's obviously something the league is also interested in. Like, let's not kid ourselves; they're also in it for their own gain. But I even look at there were certainly some machinations out in Los Angeles with the Lakers in the last couple of weeks. But Jeannie Buss running the Lakers, who
that's
are kind
huge.
of like the biggest thing. It's massive, and it certainly creates those inroads to increase the viewer base and the fandom in a way that definitely benefits the NBA.
Now, I know you and Jimmy Carlton talked a little bit about this on your show last Friday night, but the NBA MVP race is certainly something that's heating up. And from what I gathered, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you couldn't necessarily agree on who you thought was the MVP because, of course, there's still a little bit of time left. But from what it seems like, the front runners, at least from a talent perspective, you've got James Harden, you've got Russell Westbrook, but then, of course, in the back of your mind is always Steph Curry and LeBron James. Is the NBA going to actually choose somebody who really deserves it, or who just makes their league look better because, LeBron James won again, woo?
Well, you'll probably be happy to hear, Baxter, that LeBron James he's kind of fallen out of the MVP race. There's a really interesting dynamic between the quality of play by a specific player and the quality of that player that team's play. So honestly, this last month by the Cavaliers might kick LeBron out of the MVP race kind of by default, because even though he's still playing excellently, like he's very close to averaging a triple-double, just like the other two guys. The fact that the Cavaliers are sliding kind of knocks him out of the race. So we probably still are down to Russell Westbrook or James Harden, as has kind of been the case for about a month now.
As you look at these top contenders, like James Harden, they've gone 51-23 of Russell Westbrook. They went 42-31. If you looked at it just statistically, obviously you would pick James Harden, but do you think there's more that goes behind it? Like, not just how important they are to their team, but how they work with their team and how they perform by themselves as opposed to just what is on paper. Do you think that helps form like who people are, or who ends up being picked, or is it just solely on stats?
I mean, there's definitely a narrative component to this race. Russell Westbrook has been kind of, fairly and or unfairly painted as this dude who just takes over and kind of does everything.
True.
Some people would argue to the detriment of his team. Some other people would argue that his team would be terrible without him there. So it's interesting to watch that narrative form versus the Harden is generally viewed as a little bit more of a facilitator and a guy who plays within his offensive system, whereas Westbrook is just kind of a guy who plays all out, kind of over the top of any sort of system. So that's a really interesting dynamic to watch, regardless of necessarily a statistical argument. The interesting statistical argument is from what I've heard from people who may have a vote and about people who may have a vote in the MVP race, is that the triple-double argument holds a lot of sway amongst MVP voters.
Rightfully so.
I would argue that it is rightfully so. So if Westbrook ends the season on a triple-double, I'm still inclined to say that he wins MVP, regardless of kind of some other factors, especially if he averages that 30, 10, and 10 triple-double, which is, amazing.
Yes.
But there's always an appeal of round numbers in kind of any sport, any historical documentation in sports, and the appeal of averaging the triple-double after, only after the Big O, that they might just give it to Westbrook based on that.
Fair enough. All right, Mitch, good stuff from you, sir. We appreciate you swinging by the Morning Brew. Where can people
Definitely.
find you on social media and check you out on the Brew Sports Network as well?
You can find me on Twitter at Mitch Vomhof, and you can check me out every Friday evening on the Double Dribble Sports Show with my good friend Jimmy Carlton.
All right, Mitch, good stuff. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. Sounds great. We'll talk to you soon, Baxter.
Yep, sounds good. All right, there goes Mitch Vomhof here on the Morning Brew. Some good stuff from him. I wanted to get to one of the comments that somebody dropped down below here for us. It's a very intriguing comment. Robert asks, I wonder what will come first, the first female president or the first female head coach in the NBA? I don't necessarily know if there's a right answer to that question, Jaymee.
Head coach.
You think the head coach is going to be? I feel like it's harder to be a president, for a female president. There's way more scrutiny. There's way more nastiness that goes into trying to be a president than trying to be a head coach of a basketball team.
I agree. I think head coach will come first.
I would agree with you on that one as well, too. Good morning to you, Jeff, chiming in. Robert also throwing a little bit of love out here. He said any coach under Popovich would be worth looking at, in my opinion. And I agree. I mean, Greg Popovich is one of those coaches where no matter it's kind of like the narrative what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo right now. It's because of the fact that he's sat behind Tom Brady, he automatically has to be good, because he's learned from Tom Brady. Any coach that's learned from Greg Popovich ultimately has to be good no matter where they go, male or female. So I get that narrative that no matter what, male or female, that it will ultimately be a good thing for whatever team ends up with it. It would be interesting to see a dynasty and such a powerhouse like the Spurs go from Popovich to then a female head coach. I think that would change the narrative a lot about what the Spurs are doing. And ultimately, the question with any new head coach is, will they keep the same system? Will the same rules be in place? Things to kind of keep an eye on and think about as an organization if you want to ultimately end up making that switch. So things to keep an eye on. I think it's a great idea, honestly. I think that the more women that we can have involved at a high level, we're not in the 60s anymore. We're not in the roaring 20s. It's not a man's game anymore. Like, women are taking over, whether it be, on the field in terms of coaching or on the court, or in the broadcast booth, or just in general, like as the league heads as a whole, too. It's not just a man's game anymore, which I think is good. I think we need that diversity, which opens up the door to so many other things. I think at some point a female NFL commissioner would be very intriguing. It would obviously have to be the very right person, but at the same time, I think that would really help open the door to a lot more to, potentially, put to rest some of these other issues that NFL players have had with women, because their head of the league would be this strong leading female character.
It's a good way to think about it.
We'll have to see. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that's going to happen for a very long time. I mean, football and baseball, basketball, those are the men's sports. I get that. But, even if one of those replaced with a strong leading female, lead, I think would be a very different narrative moving forward for the perception of the league as a whole. So keep an eye on that. Let us know your thoughts about whether or not you think a female head coach or a female even commissioner at this point would be a good idea for any of those leagues. And if you, if you're a sports fan, like I support the Green Bay Packers. If suddenly tomorrow the Packers are like, all right, Mike McCarthy's gone, we've got this new female head coach, how would you perceive that? And would you want a female head coach on your team? And do you think it would be a good thing or not? I think football's a hard sport to throw a female into as a head coaching role.
That I would probably agree with a little more than basketball or soccer, because it's basically the same rules.
It's true. Just
women
different
don't
people.
Typically play NFL football.
Not to my knowledge. They've tried. They've tried to.
Yeah, so that I could see being a little trickier. I mean, when I can't think of her name, but the female ref for the
I know
NFL.
who you're talking about, though.
And that was like a huge.
Yeah, and
huge
Arizona,
thing.
I think, has like a female assistant coach as well too on their roster, and they're slowly starting to take over. But these are gals though that are literally
Taking over.
buff. Like these girls, like they would probably kill Eddie Lacy. Like they would eat Eddie Lacy instead of Eddie Lacy like eating them, kind of a thing. Like it's a very these ladies. And that's the thing. If you're going to be a female in the NFL world, I almost feel like have to be buff. Like you could be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't have some sort of a physical physique to you, I feel like you're going to never be truly listened to or truly valued because it's like, wow, what do you know? You're cute.
Right.
You don't know anything. Like you're not going to hit me. Yeah,
And
I
then
don't.
she punches you in the face.
Like sit down. Robert says if Jaymee coached the Packers,
Oh,
Jordy
boy.
Nelson would get the ball every single play. Just give it to Jordy, guys. He's fine. And Jordy's like, I've already caught like 47 passes today. Yeah, one more.
You go, honey.
Woo, love you, dude. I'll make you some dinner when you get home. I don't know about that. Yeah, Jeff says, of course, the one conversation that needs to be had in all this, he says, it would be very difficult in the locker room. That's the hard part in all of this.
Very true, but that can be said as well with like female reporters and
It's true.
like
or the men coaching a female team.
right. So there's got to be some way around it.
That's the question, though. Is there a true way around any of this?
I mean, what's so wrong with like you guys just keeping your pants on for 2 more minutes?
I just played 90 minutes. I got to take my clothes off. I'm hot and sweaty.
Put a
It's been
blanket
hitting
over
people.
your pants.
Blanket over your pants?
Over your naked body. I don't know.
Yes, you heard her. Put a blanket
Coming in! Cover it up!
So I'm sure that's got to be what the case is. Like, you think about it, like, Gino Auriemma there at UConn. I mean, he's been that coach for a long time, and I'm sure he probably has some sort of a locker room rule, or he probably has female assistant coaches that go in and, preview the locker room and be like, all right, no boobs, we're good. Like, come on in, coach.
When I used to write before, like for an internship, before I was full-time at the Admirals, and I wrote about them. So I wrote about AHL hockey, and the PR director would take me, he would do a lap in there, let everyone know that I was coming in there, and then he'd be like, Jamie's in the locker room, like,
Keep your pants on.
be decent. And they were.
Were they, though? You never had that one guy be like, oh, hey.
Not really, no.
Well, that's good. Because guys can be stupid like
Yeah.
that. Be like, oh, whoops, drop my towel.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my gosh. Get out of here, you animal.
Yeah.
Like,
And that was pretty awkward, too. Like, I stood, like, they would come out of their dressing room that way, and I would, like, stand against the wall with, like, my blinders on.
you're like, I'm not.
Yeah.
What? Oh, hi. Here, I'll talk to you now. Robert says we'd have to ask Gino about UConn. Yeah, that's certainly. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I mean, I'm friends with guys. I mean, one of the gentlemen that hosts here on Brew Sports. That's where we are. That's what I do on a daily basis. That's what's on my check every couple of weeks is Brew Sports. I don't know where I am today, I guess. But Barry Nelson is the name I was trying to get to. He was a high school women's basketball coach for a long time. So I mean, he would be a good guy to ask about that too. Be like, so what did you do? I mean, I've the little bit of coaching I've done, it's always been guy related. I've never coached females, so I never had to worry about the locker room sort of thing.
Our cheer coach in high school was a guy.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, like, during competitions and stuff, when we would change, he would just step up into the hallway quick. We were co-ed, too, though, so we had guys on our team.
That's the thing.
But they would just go, like, there was 20 of us and 6 of them, so they would just, yeah.
Flip-flop there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different opinions about this. Let us know your thoughts about, as we talked about earlier with Mitch Vomhof, potential female head coaches in the NBA. And then if you would want a female head coach on your team that you support outside of that. We're starting to see more women take over in professional soccer as well, too, on the lower divisions, but then working their way up. NFL, I think it would really have to be a very special case, honestly, for a female NFL head coach. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you would almost say a female commissioner instead of a NFL head coach before that, one of those two things.
Well, I'm trying to think of, like, if the roles were reversed.
In what regards?
Like if there was, like, a thing that only girls did, that you all of a sudden had a guy. Like, if we were going to get real, like, political right now, they had the whole voting thing about, like, women's birth control and all that stuff, and it was a whole men's panel, like, basically the same thing.
That does make a lot of sense.
Right? Not to get political, because I'm not, but
I know what you're saying, though, yeah. I mean, there's certain sports where when you have a coach of the opposite gender, it might get a little strange. I think for me, the biggest one is women's volleyball, and you have male head coaches. I think I mean, nothing against guys, but guys, your asses don't look good in spandex or whatever you wear, gym shorts. Like, no one's looking at your butt, but like, you've got, high school and college girls in their little short spandex, and you've got a male coach. Like, I feel like you're almost asking for it at some point. Like, some comment or some awkward thing is going to come up at some point. And I get like, oh, we're a family. It's like, that's great, but it's still weird because you're 37 and I'm 12. Not 12, but like, even still, though, even in club volleyball sometimes, like, you can get a little strange, I feel like. So, something to keep an eye on. Reminder for you folks as well, too. I mean, drop your comments. Visit our website as well, too, brewsportsnet.com. Keep the comments coming. Keep the share buttons hitting as well, too. Jeff says, who got less sleep, Jaymee or Baxter? Why do you ask? Do I look tired?
Do I look tired? I haven't showered today.
Let's take a hot look here. Let's take a closer look. See, Jaymee looks pretty good. I like to think I look fairly decent.
Who gets less sleep or who got?
Yes.
Probably tonight.
Jaymee got less sleep than I did last night, yes.
On a normal night, Baxter probably has more interrupted sleep.
Yes, that's correct. I don't have to deal with Harold. I mean, Harold just probably cuddles up with you and you're like, all right, night. Like, I have to deal with the baby.
Right.
Which I'm not mad about. I mean, he only woke up once last night, so I mean, he was up at like 1:30, and I went to bed at like 9:30. I went to bed at like 9:30 last night. So
I went to bed at 2:30 for those of you that are wondering.
There you go. For
because
those of you
the bags
that are
under my eyes.
Massaging, like, I'm awake.
Yeah.
Good
no
morning.
coffee yet either, so I think I'm doing okay, Jeff.
There you go. If you'd like some coffee.
I don't like 3 seconds of creamer.
It was like 2.5 this morning. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But if we're going to move on and stay on the women's track.
Yeah, let's talk about it. This is a big day.
Yay, victory!
Woo!
A deal has been reached with the U.S. women's national hockey team. Whoop, whoop, small victories. So...
That's the president. I don't know why I whistled. Anyway, America! Woo!
If you've been following this at all, if you have not, you know that it's something I've been talking about all week and last week. So the U.S. women's hockey team boycotted going to play at Worlds next week, or this week, I guess. Practice starts Friday, I believe, in Michigan, because they were upset with their pay.
Rightfully so.
So instead of them being like, you know what, you're right, you're underpaid, they started going to college girls and high school girls to try to recruit them. And it all backfired because literally everybody said no, because girl power. Just kidding. Kind of.
Hashtag girl power.
Yeah. So they didn't release their annual compensation, but it's going to be, they finally did. It's going to be roughly $70,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
A year.
Holy cow.
So they can, cut their bartending jobs. Brew sports. And
not my call.
I focus solely on hockey, which is great. And and like we were talking, if you want to be paid well, you got to start winning, right?
Usually helps.
They're going to be getting bonuses for winning the Olympics, for winning Worlds.
Sure.
This is all great news.
Huzzah!
Yay!
Women.
Happy women everywhere.
Well done. That's amazing that they're going to get $70,000.
Yeah.
That blows my mind a little bit, because when you really look at it and you break it down, I mean, that doesn't happen very often. Like, there are women that play for the women's national team for soccer that don't get paid $70,000. Like, they only get paid if they win.
Well, they didn't boycott it either.
They talked about boycotting. They've talked about, I mean, the women is a whole another thing. I mean, they've tried to, and they've been on 60 Minutes and blah, blah, blah. But I think this is a huge victory for this team as a whole. I think the fact that this is a turn in the right direction. I mean, they had the men's hockey team behind them. They had the women's soccer team behind them. Like, the United States was rallying around this women's hockey team. Like, I don't feel like you'd rally around a team if you didn't think they were going to win. Or they were decent. Like, if this was like the women's tennis team that was like, meh, I mean, I think our tennis team was phenomenal. We've got Serena or whoever. But, like, hypothetically, like, if you're trying to support a team that you're like, well, they're probably not even going to make it out of the group stage, so why do we bother?
I think it's also crazy to see the amount of support they had from, like you said, the men's team.
Yeah.
And then just local people that you saw either tweeting it or whatever. And then these high school students being like, nope. I would be like, no. Like,
that's hard.
Like, that's what they work for. That's what they work for their entire lives, is to play through college, professionally, and at the Olympics and Worlds, and then they get the chance, and they have to say no, because if they don't, they'll be ridiculed forever because they're anti-women, even though they are one. Yeah, that'd be hard.
Robert broke it down for us. He says basically with that paycheck, they'd be getting about $250 or $2,500 every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it says that they're going to average about $4,000 a month.
I mean, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I'd like $4,000 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I also can't skate, so I don't deserve it.
That's true. You'd be a beast on skates. You're already tall anyway. I can't imagine you on hockey skates. You'd be like, oh, my gosh. Like,
yeah. Well, I had someone last night, too, when I was working. How tall are you? I'm like, oh, here we go.
What up, Shaq?
She's like, did you? I'm like, no, I know where you're going. No, I didn't. Yeah, are you?
No.
None of that.
You must have. No, I didn't. No.
No.
Nope.
So you're, I wasted it.
Hear about it every day. Thank you, guys.
It's for my future children.
Yes, I just wanted to be tall so that way I can have D1 babies one day.
Right.
That's the whole plan. Why don't you marry like a 5'5" guy?
No, never.
If it's Connor, would you marry Connor?
No, he's too douchey. Too
douchey. We got to get an official like douche meter for you to like. What's an acceptable level of douchedom for you to be like? Yep, I can get on board with that. So a big day for U.S. women's hockey. So congratulations to them. $70,000 negotiated for them that they can actually play and probably go and kick butt now at Worlds. I love it. The Worlds is in Michigan.
I know.
Go to like Holland or Italy or anywhere else. You can't have the Worlds in Michigan.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. New York City, that makes a little bit more sense for like a world, like an international tournament. Like if I'm Svetlana in Sweden, I'm like, I'm going to the Worlds in Michigan. Like, where the hell is Michigan?
It's the state that looks like this.
Yes, it's a little mitten. Oh, how cute. Let's crush the Americans. Stupid mittens.
Oh, God.
And Michigan people are so happy about that. They're like, we're in the mitten state.
I had a guy last night, too. I'm like, where are you from? And he's like, right there. This is Michigan. That's where I'm from. Over the lake. Right here.
Okay, why?
Bye.
I always made the joke, like, from Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's the hand. I'm like, I went from Wisconsin when I moved to Florida because I was, like, not happy about it because I'm like, I'm leaving all my friends. Like, I went from Wisconsin to Florida.
Oh.
Do you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Wisconsin and then Florida.
But that's not really what it looks like.
Sure it does. Florida, like, sure,
yeah,
this
there's
is the
thumb, but I feel like this would be
panhandle,
more,
and then Florida's like...
This way would be more...
No,
Doesn't
you
Florida
take
stick
it,
out just a little bit?
What does it look like I'm doing? It's sticking out. This is the peninsula.
Yeah, well, okay, right. But I'm saying, like, the shape of Florida.
Yes, it looks like a gun.
Right. This looks like more like a gun than this.
No, it doesn't.
And
you never looked at it.
This should be way bigger.
I'm sorry. I've only got so much of a hand to show. I'll bring in a full-scale model of Florida next time. Be like, here's Florida. Like, I was like, when people ask me, like, where are you from Florida? I'm like, oh, I'm from Naples, down here. They're like, oh, and people get it. And then you're like, oh, where's Miami? Like, well,
Except
you go across
like,
Gaylor Alley. Miami's here. Tampa's here. Orlando is over here. Tallahassee is up in this vicinity. Like, Pensacola's up here in the Panhandle. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, but your panhandle is way too big compared to your little thumb.
I have big hands. What do you want from me? I didn't ask for these hands. They're the ones that God gave me, okay?
All right,
I didn't choose the hand life. The hand life chose me.
All right.
So much hatred from you this morning, Jaymee. You feel like you're wasted or something.
I just got to keep you on your toes.
Suppose so. Speaking of Wednesday, it is Wasted Wednesday, and people that are probably still wasted are Kentucky fans after their heart-wrenching loss to UNC. UNC was applauding their man in that 8 a.m. class the next morning, while Kentucky fans decided to go and blame it on the refs, of course, because that's what they do. Jaymee, you found the story. What in the world are these stupid Kentucky fans doing now?
I did. So the ref that... Okay, so the ref for the game has a roofing company, and Kentucky fans decided to out him on his Facebook, give him 1-star reviews, and make up these ridiculous complaints or whatever. So, for example, one of them says, had John's company replace my worn-out roof, charge 4 times as much as any competitor, but promised to have the job completed in under 2 weeks, which I thought was a long time frame. I paid up front, and he came and removed my old roof and kept making excuses as to why his guys couldn't finish the job. Never refunded my money. John, please. My kids are without a roof. And then someone else, Shannon Mullins, says, John, I live in North Carolina. I wonder if you give me a good price on some gutter and maybe a roof job. Maybe give me a free estimate and give me a few extra things while you're in at it. And give me a call at 1-800 you give the game to the heels. Sorry excuse for a ref and human being. Come on.
One of my favorite ones here is somebody was saying I wouldn't even trust him to do the roof on my dog's house or something. I was like,
poor guy.
Wow. He's apparently accumulated over 500 1-star reviews on his roofing on the John Higgins Weather Guard Inc. Facebook page.
John Higgins is probably.
I want to go find John Higgins and give him a 5-star
right
review.
now.
And be like, John, you're a phenomenal man.
Yeah, poor guy. Like, don't attack his job. Like, this is his livelihood.
People, this is what bothers me about sports. This is like, if there's one thing that makes me more upset about sports than anything, it's the stupid fans.
Yeah.
That's why so many people, like, when the teams that I support lose or whatever, people are like, why aren't you more upset? Be like, 'cause it happens.
Right.
It's a game.
That's why you don't yell at the television either.
I've never been a yeller. Never been one of those people who be like, oh, that's...
We had this conversation the other day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm super quiet when I watch games." And then I don't know what I was watching, if it was like when I was at work and it was a game or it was the Badger game, but I was like, "Ah!" And then I was like, "Oh no, I told Baxter I don't do
like,
that."
I'm not a yeller. Oh,
I just
darn.
did that.
I mean, bug.
Rats.
Get out of here, bug.
Yeah.
Like, I get excited, like, in, like, good moments. Like, you know, Packers score a last-second touchdown. Like, I'm excited, kind of a thing. Or, like, you know, the game-winning goal in, like, a World Cup game. Like, super stoked about that. I'll hoop and holler about that. But, like, the people that are just like, oh, that was a ridiculous call. Like, and the people that smash their TVs. Why?
Yeah.
Do you have $500 to $1,000 just sitting around? You're just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Screw it. Like,
You know what else I
what's
don't
wrong
understand?
with you?
This is kind of on topic, but not really. Like, people that make reaction videos, I don't get. Like, you set up your camera for the entire game, and you're like, okay, we're going to freak out at the end and hopefully get a bunch of views on YouTube.
That's really all it is.
A guy that I work with at the bar, his wife is from Russia. And I asked him the other day what she did, and her living is to make reaction videos.
I'm sorry, what?
And people watch them on YouTube, and then she gets paid for it.
What?
Yeah. I don't know what it's called. I didn't ask. I figured it was like some weird Russian stuff. But that is her job, which is the craziest thing I have ever heard of.
I mean, people love that when, you know, like the more notable ones, of course, the buzzer beater shots, or when the Vikings a couple of years ago missed that easy field goal, and seeing the Vikings fans' reactions, or like the Vikings fans that walked out to like snowy football fields and kicked the 27-yard field goal, like in a dress should be like, it's not that hard, Blair Walsh. Like, anybody can make it. Like, it's hard, okay? For those of you, I will go to Blair Walsh's defense any single day of the week. Like, it's very difficult to kick football, let alone in sub-zero temperature, playoff game on the line, go out and do it. Anybody with a club can go out and kick a 50-yard field goal, but you can't do it anyway. Hashtag save the kickers. But like that's the thing that just bothers me so much about it is like, why, guys? Why do you need to go and wreck a TV? Why do you need to go and throw something out a window? Like, why do you need to burn a jersey? What does that say about you as a person? I have never done any of those things.
You're a sore loser, and you.
But of course, they would always come back and be like, I'm a passionate fan. Be like, have some respect.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well have taken a couple of stacks of $100 bills and just lit them on fire, been like, I don't
jerseys
care.
aren't cheap either, unless you got them from China.
And even still.
Kaepernick fans or whoever lit stuff on fire.
Well, like LeBron, when he left Cleveland, people lit his jersey on
And then they had to go and rebuy a new one when he came back. Like, you should have just put it in, like, your little storage bin. Everyone has one of their clothes they don't wear anymore, but they hope they're going to fit into their 8th grade skirt someday.
Yeah. Like,
I don't have that.
Was I, as a Packers fan, was I upset when Brandon Bostic fumbled the ball against the Seahawks in the NFC Championship? Of course I was, but I wasn't throwing stuff and punching babies and
egg in his car.
punting,
I don't know if that happened.
You know, I'm sure. Like,
do you say punting babies?
Yes. People do crazy stuff, okay? I wasn't a father yet at that point, so that's acceptable. But, like, people do the weirdest stuff. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Maybe our viewers say something else, but I don't know. If you guys have done something crazy like this before, I won't judge you too much, at least not on the air. I'll judge you off the air. Please comment below if something you've either done or something you've seen somebody that you know do, like, in reaction. Like, people that, like, you know, do like a week of mourning, or people that call off work the next day, be like, I'm so upset. Like, nobody died. Man up, go to work. Your team lost. Get over it.
Even when famous people die and people get upset, I'm
That's
like,
the
who
biggest
cares?
thing. Like when Michael Jackson died, like the entire world like shut down. They're like, the king is dead, and I'm like, did you know Michael Jackson? No, you didn't. Like, the guidance counselor at my high school, she had a right to be mad and to mourn when Michael Jackson died because she was one of his backup dancers in Thriller. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
I was like, great. You knew Michael. You had a relationship. Obviously, you should be sad. Obviously, that makes total sense. But, you know, my favorite is like when, you know, and especially in high school, like, you know, you have a 16-year-old be like, oh, Michael, I'm so mad you're dead. Like, You didn't even know Michael in his prime. Like, you are 16 years old, and because your parents have one Michael Jackson album, and you're like, I've always been a lifelong Jackson fan. Be like, stop. Like, yes, if people started to die, like, I'd be a little sad. Be like, oh my gosh, Aaron Rodgers died. Sad day. Very sad day, sort of a thing. Or like other people that I know that are famous. Like when Betty White dies, I will be sad. But I'm not going to call into work the next day and be like, guys, Betty White died. I'm not coming to work anymore. Like, it happens.
Right.
And I don't want to try to sound like I'm heartless, but come on. When people that you have never met before and have never had a real impact on your life, or like, I guarantee you, like when Oprah dies and when Ellen dies, the world is literally going to shut down for a good week or two.
The whole world?
The whole world. People are going to be like, Ellen is dead. She has changed my life. Like, yes, Ellen has done amazing things, but if you've never met Ellen, you don't have a right to call off work or to, put sackcloth and ashes on and rend your garments. Like, or go on. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Not a lot fires me up, Jaymee, but this stuff does because I'm like, you are stupid. You really are. Your move, Evers.
I have a wasted Wednesday.
Yay.
Red Wings fans are probably getting super wasted.
Woo!
The first time in 26 seasons that they've missed the playoffs.
That's unbelievable.
And I'm kind of sad about it just because I don't really care about the Red Wings at all. But it would have been cool to see them be able to play a little bit longer in Joe since it's being built or torn down this year. Like, that would have been cool.
Sure.
It's historical, whatever. Other than that, I don't really give two craps. Also, people getting wasted are probably Nashville fans like myself, which I wish I could have done last night because we could have clinched a playoff spot. And instead, we choked with the Bruins, so that was cool. Thanks, Pekka. I just had to throw that in there because it's
Stupid
sad.
Pekka.
Yeah.
But see, did you throw something? Were you just, like, mad at the world last night?
No, had it. My friends came to visit me, so I had it playing on my phone because I have NHL TV. So
Wow.
I would walk past and oh, they scored again. Oh, that one went into. Oh, it's 4-1. Cool, we're never coming back.
Great, and we're gone.
Yeah. So that's who I think should be getting wasted. A lot of people clinched last night though, so that's great
Good
for them.
Yeah.
Just not Nashville. Thanks.
Thanks for
Nashville.
nothing, Nashville. You dirty communists. Speaking of communists, Casey says weird Russian stuff in quotes on Facebook here. I don't. That's so weird though to me. Like
Super weird. And sometimes I say too much and I don't have a filter, which if you know me pretty well,
this is why this show works so well.
So her husband is super nice guy.
Sure.
Whatever. I know he was in the military. So when I found out that his wife was Russian, usually you don't meet a Russian woman when you're in the military because we don't really go to Russia.
How much did he pay for her?
That's okay. So I was going to ask that, but I'm not that rude. So then I asked if it was a contract marriage, and he because I'd never seen her. I worked with him for a couple months. He talked about her, but I never saw her. So it's because she's doing her weird YouTube videos. But then I was like, hey, is it a contract marriage? And he was like, no, I love her. And I was like,
Bet you do. Bet you do.
my bad.
So strange.
Oops.
Apparently, Tom just commented on Facebook, and he said it says love, but it has the Michigan mitten and replacing the O.
Why not have the Women's Hockey Championship in Michigan? The Mitten State is the culture center of the world. By the way, Wisconsin is I can't say that word.
The arthritic mitten state.
I feel like we look like I guess they look like a mitten too. Duh, I knew that. But
now, when you do Wisconsin, is it the right hand or is it your left hand? Which way?
I think I always do this, to me.
Yeah, so that way you can point accordingly. I grew up in Green Bay. I grew up in the crevice there. Yeah. When I go visit my family, I'm over there.
If our hands are a little bit bigger, or our thumbs were up a little bit higher, it would be more accurate.
Supposedly, stick it out more. Perfect. You and your stupid Florida business there, just that doesn't look like Florida. Well, I can only do so much with my hands, okay? Get off me. Did you hear, speaking of people telling them to get off of them, Donald Trump saying that he is not going to be throwing out the first pitch that the Nationals extended an invite to? And I feel like that's kind of a thing. Don't you do that as a president? You throw out the first pitch, especially in your nation's capital?
You would think, since Barack and Bush both, or George W. Bush both did it. I just don't understand, people loved Barack, those that did, because he was so much
I thought he was a really nice
guy.
Or politics aside, I thought Obama was a fantastic person.
Yeah.
I would go have a beer with Obama. Maybe 6.
He seemed like a family guy. His family was important to him. He did funny things. He was silly, and the memes and like they owned it and all that stuff. And then Trump's like, I'm Trump.
I'm going to tweet about you and tell you how much I hate you.
Yeah. You would think that he would be like, maybe a couple more people like me. A couple baseball fans. Maybe I'll throw a
Get
strike.
some voters.
Probably not, but maybe.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe he's trying to reduce his public image by trying to not humiliate himself. Because how many times do you see people get humiliated because they can't throw a ball, 90 feet? Like, it's hard to do. I've always considered myself fairly accurate with a football or a baseball, but like it's hard to just even like lightly throw it. Like be like, all right, like whoosh. Like remember 50 Cent threw his ball like into the stands basically, and people were like, how is that even possible? Or like then you get the gymnasts that like do a front flip and then like,
yeah.
I'm like, what?
I'm not a good baseball thrower because you have to like let it roll off your fingers, and I don't get it. I'm just like, This is why I didn't really play sports.
But you're tall, so you mean you didn't play basketball or you didn't play volleyball?
No.
You run an outside hitter or a blocker or a center?
No.
Come on.
I
Or a
know.
swimmer? You're tall and lanky. You could have swam.
Oh, I'm a terrible swimmer.
Soccer? You could have been a defender. Nice and tall. Go for the headers.
Not good at cardio.
What are you good for, Jaymee?
This.
True. No. Can't argue with that.
Found my calling.
Jeff says #Jaymee Unfiltered. I think that would be a fun show. I think we should do that once a week where we'd literally just set up Jaymee, stoke her with like 5 to 7 just hot takes and just let her go. And just Jaymee just is like, this mother son of a... Just like,
Yeah, there'd be a lot of bleeping
There would
probably.
be. I think that'd be great. I'd pay to see
Do we have
that.
a bleep button?
We don't. We'll get an intern on it.
All right.
We need a bleep button. They're on it.
Don't pull the cords for the Wirecast.
Seriously.
You idiots.
This is why we can't have nice things. Oh, my good Lord. Well, Jaymee, this has been fun. Anything else we need to talk about? I was actually going to throw an overrated at you.
Ooh, again.
We were overrated yesterday.
All right.
And our show is still continuing to be overrated, depending on who you talk to. But I wanted to ask you two.
Okay.
Okay. Is Greek life overrated?
Yes.
In what regards? Being a fraternity, sorority, all that fun business.
I just think they're dumb. And it's not even like the whole like, oh, you pay for your friends thing.
You do.
But
we're sisters.
I don't see the purpose. So like I've never really been in like a real fraternity, right?
Yes.
So like one of my best friends in college was in a sorority, and it was just a bunch of chicks that lived in the house, right?
That's all it
but
is.
Then one of my ex-boyfriends who went to Rutgers or goes to Rutgers, I went there and they had like a chef, and like they paid all these like fees.
A chef?
Yeah, so like they would have like meals, like they
What?
would, yeah, like cook your own meals. You're growing up.
You're a
Come
grown
on.
man.
Yeah.
Chef.
Yeah, and like if you didn't live in the house and you wanted to eat the food, you had to pay like $6 or whatever it was.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's overrated and
100%.
dumb.
I completely agree with you. I think it is horribly overrated, and I think that people need to take it back a notch.
Yeah.
Too much going on for me.
And how people that are in like sororities and fraternities, like, looks like you have a lot of money to do a lot of things all the time. Like, how? Teach me your ways, because it looks like you guys party all the time, which is fun and cool and great. And
Yeah,
I
good
did that
for
when
you.
I was
But,
20.
like,
But like,
people
you're
like
going to
are-
like Cabo and you have like a Range Rover.
And you're making
like,
all these like crazy videos, like promo hype videos. Like I have a friend of mine that goes to Old Miss, and like I see like her sorority, like she'll post things like with her and her sorority and sisters and stuff, and I'm just like, how? Like I get her family has money, but like your family's
Yeah.
not supporting the sorority.
Well,
but maybe
they're-
it's Old Miss though. Maybe they just have a ridiculous amount of budget.
I think it was like Alabama or something. They had like a what is it called? Like the Greek week.
Greek
When you,
week.
like-
Oh, Pledge Week.
Yeah, when you
Snapchat. That gets the most annoying week for me on Snapchat is when people are like, yeah, it's Pledge Week. And people literally are freaking out.
But they had like a promo video of like why you should be on their sorority, and it was like 50 girls in like the
Yes.
front of the house. And they're like,
yes. And like
come
on a
be our
boat and like
sister.
all that stuff.
Look at us, we're so fun.
Yes.
Blah. Gross.
No. Just say no.
So I think they're overrated.
Fair enough. I agree. I mean, I don't really have much else to add to it because I agree with everything you just said.
I
Sororities
just
are
licked my
overrated.
microphone too when I did that.
And you just what? You
Lick.
licked your microphone?
Yeah, on
Is
accident.
that tasty? You're like,
Sorry, Tanner.
yeah. It's like, we need to get new mic covers. Anyway, and then the last one for you, real quick, before we get out of here, is standardized tests. Are they overrated? Like the SAT, the ACT,
Yeah.
the MCAT, the 2CAT, 3POC.
I think it depends. If you're
On what?
going to school for a certain thing and you have a standardized test to decide what classes you need to take to make sure you're up to par with everybody else, yes. If you're going to be a comm major, You don't need to know math.
You're slow turd if you're going to be a comm major.
I didn't realize I was
But, like,
on
slow
that.
turd was phenomenal. I was like, ooh, okay.
You shouldn't have to take math tests.
Agreed.
So,
I only took the SAT once, and I didn't do that great.
no, I never took the SAT. I took the ACT, and I'm not too good.
I got an 880.
Probably could have talked my way out of it, but
I probably could have, too. Like, I could have presented. I'd have presented for 5 hours instead of taking a stupid test that
Yeah.
I just didn't care about. Like, that's literally the worst thing on a standardized test. You're like, I don't know.
I think it's also bad for, like, young, like, it's
It's morally crushing.
when you're in, what is it, like, 2nd, 4th, and 8th grade, you take the...
Oh, yeah, like the state testing or whatever.
Yeah, like...
I don't get it.
At that point, kids are learning at such different paces, and they're being taken out of class for, certain reading classes or whatever it may be. Like in high school, I can understand because you're a little more developed and
Yeah.
you can think for yourself. Or when you're 2, like, you're not thinking for yourself. You have people teaching you.
Yeah.
When you're older, you either want to learn or you don't.
It's true. I mean, my
You're
wife
supposed to learn.
My wife was a teacher, and she would like come home like she was teaching 1st grade and 2nd grade, and she's like, "Yeah, we had standardized testing today." I'm like, "These kids are 6."
And to make them sit down and
Yeah.
do it, like, no.
Like, guys, like, and I get it. Like, of course, you have to make sure that they're learning and make sure like they're putting things together. But like, I feel like there's easier ways to do it than sticking like a 7-year-old in a classroom for 4 hours and being like, "All right, figure it out."
I agree.
Not a fan.
Overrated.
Hashtag overrated.
Someday we'll have a topic where I find it underrated. Just wait.
That's a good idea. Send us your ideas for overrated or just topics in general that you'd like us to hit on. We always appreciate you as the commenter joining us. All of you wonderful people that took part in the show today. Apologies for the craziness in the beginning. That intern has already been fired and sent to the fields to do 100 years of hard labor picking weeds and pushing soil and shearing sheep. So we wish them the very best. Sorry about that one, Jim. Sorry, not sorry. Never liked Jim anyway. But aside from that, we appreciate you all joining us. Thanks to Mitch Vomhof for joining us this morning as well, too, to round up the NBA playoff race, the MVP race, and all that other fun business that goes along with the NBA. If you have any thoughts about anything we talked about on the show today, of course, you can go back and watch the videos here on Facebook. Of course, go to brewsportsnet.com, our YouTube channel. If you're more of a listener than a viewer, check out our podcast on iTunes as well, too. We've got a pretty good following for our show, at least, the Morning Brew on iTunes. So thanks to all of you people that subscribe and download and play and all that fun business. Final thoughts from you, Jaymee?
I have to go take a class today to learn how to put contacts in my eyes, and I'm freaking out.
I'm sorry, what?
That's all I got. Yeah,
What?
I get contacts for the first time today, and I had to
You
sign up.
have a class?
Yeah.
It's
At 1
like-
o'clock. Think of me then. I'm really nervous, though.
And I'm going to see you for dinner later tonight. You're going to just be like, I can't see.
Yeah. My boss didn't believe me. He was like, I'm like, no, really, I have to leave at 1. I have to go to this class. Otherwise, they will not give me my contacts. Wow. Yeah.
What a
So
society we
keep
live
me
in.
in your thoughts. That's all I got.
If you're a praying sort, hashtag pray for Jaymee at 1 o'clock today. We'll have a vigil here on Brew Sports for Jaymee and her eyes and her contacts. Maybe we'll go live at 1 and maybe we'll bring you.
From Wisconsin Vision.
I think so. Maybe we'll like Skype you in and Jaymee will be like, I can't figure it out. Oh boy. Well, I hope that it works out for you.
Thanks. I'd like to see.
Me too. I'd like to see where this goes.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, we will. Coming up next on Brew Sports is 2 Up Front at 10 a.m. Central Time with myself and Simon Provan. Some great interviews, some great insight for you into the soccer world. And then, of course, after that, it's halftime with myself and Tanner Burke at 11 a.m. Central Time. You really just can't get rid of me on Wednesdays. You get me 4 times on Wednesdays, so that's a you problem if you can't deal with that. I'm just kidding. I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Morning Brew at 7 a.m. Central Time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.